All right, welcome to the Neuralink product demo. I'm really excited to show you what we've got. I think it's going to blow your mind. What's our goal? Our goal is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. So you want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal, but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine. All of your senses, your sight, hearing, feeling, pain, these are all electrical signals sent by neurons to your brain. And if you can correct these signals, you can solve everything from memory loss, hearing loss, blindness, paralysis, depression, insomnia, extreme pain, seizures, anxiety, addiction, strokes, brain damage. These can all be solved with an implantable Neuralink. This is our little device. That thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place because they're just like little fine wires. I mean, frankly, to sort of simplify this, what we're, I mean, it's more complicated than this, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. So, and it's, yeah, so our current prototype, version 0.9, has about 1,000 channels. So that's about 100 times better than the next best consumer device that's available. And it's a 23 millimeters by 8 millimeters. It actually fits quite nicely in your skull because your skull is about 10 millimeters thick. So it fits, it goes flush with your skull, it's invisible, and all you can see afterwards is that there's a tiny scar. And if it's under your hair, you can't see it at all. In fact, I could have a Neuralink right now, and you wouldn't know. Maybe I do. So, and it's also got all the things that you would expect to see, the sensors you'd expect to see in a smartwatch or a phone, like inertial measurement, temperature, pressure. So there's actually a lot of functions that this device could do related to monitoring your health and warning you about a possible heart attack or stroke or other damage, as well as sort of convenience features like playing music. You can do a lot. It's sort of like if your phone went at your brain or something. Yeah, maybe that's not a great analogy. Anyway, so it's also inductively charged. So it's charged in the same way that you charge a smartwatch or a phone. And so you can use it all day, charge it at night, and have full functionality. So you would really, it would be completely seamless. Yeah, no wires. In terms of getting a link, so that, you need to have the device, a great device, and you also need to have a great robot that puts in the electrodes and does the surgery. So you want the surgery to be as automated as possible, and the only way you can achieve the level of precision that's needed is with an advanced robot. And we feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. And it can be done without general anesthesia. So this is our surgical robot. And we actually ultimately want this robot to do essentially the entire surgery. So in everything from incision, removing the skull, inserting the electrodes, placing the device, and then closing things up and having you ready to leave. So we want to have a fully automated system. So this shows you at sort of close-up view, which I think is actually not too gruesome, of the electrodes being inserted in the brain. And if you look closely, you'll see that it's a little counterintuitive that if the electrodes are inserted very carefully, that there's no bleeding. So here's Dorothy. And in the case of Dorothy, Dorothy used to have an implant, and then we removed the implant. So this is a very important thing to demonstrate is reversibility. So if you have a Neuralink, and then you decide you don't want it, or you want to get an upgrade, and the Neuralink is removed, is it removed in such a way that you are still healthy and happy afterwards? All right. Gertrude, thanks for coming out. So the beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the Neuralink in Gertrude's head. So this Neuralink connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes, which are detected here. And so on the screen, you can see each of the spikes from the 1,024 electrodes. She's had the implant for 2 months. So this is a healthy and happy pig with an implant that is 2 months old and working well. Yeah. In terms of additional brain reading activity, when we have, say, one of our pigs on a treadmill, and we take the readings from the neurons, and we try to predict the position of the joints. And so we have the predicted position of the joints, and then we measure the actual position of the joints. You can see that they're almost exactly aligned. So we're able, with a wireless neural implant, to actually predict the position of all of the limbs in the pig's body with very high accuracy. Now, in terms of writing to the brain or stimulating neurons, we also need precise control of the electric field in space and time. We need a wide range of current for different brain regions. Some regions require delicate stimulation, some require a lot of current, and you want obviously no harm to the brain over time. And the way part of the way we analyze the stimulating neurons is with a 2-photon microscopy. So the red things are electrodes firing, and then the green are the neuron bodies responding to the current from the electrode. So, like I said, for the initial device, it's read-write in every channel with about 1,024 channels, all-day battery life, recharges overnight, has quite a long range. So you can have the range being to your phone, I should say. That's kind of an important thing. This would connect to your phone, and actually the application would be on your phone. And it will be communicating by essentially Bluetooth Low Energy to the device in your head.
And the question is, can the Neuralink chip allow you to summon your Tesla telepathically?
Definitely, of course.
You heard it here first. That's a definite 100%. Carlos, that is the answer.
This particular question is from Yosef, but will this technology ever be used for gaming?
Yeah, probably.
100%.
100%, yeah.
I think that a good benchmark of does it work well in humans is, can a quadriplegic, does it work well enough for them to play StarCraft? I think that's a good functional target.
Yeah.
So we all want to play StarCraft using Neuralink, but what are some likely first applications?
So our first clinical trial is aimed at people with paraplegia or tetraplegia, so cervical spinal cord injury. We're going to enroll, we plan to enroll a small number of patients to make sure the device is safe and that it works in that case.
Yeah, so actually just to elaborate on that, if somebody is like a severe spinal cord injury, to the degree that they have very limited control even over their facial muscles, then but with this implant you can actually think just by thinking you can output words, and you can type, and you can control a computer, control a phone, and which is pretty wild. And I think something that's very exciting as a long-term application is if you can sense what somebody's trying to do with their limbs, what they want to do with their limbs, then you can actually do a second implant that's at the base of the spine, or wherever, just after wherever the spinal injury occurred, and you can create a neural shunt. So I think long-term, I'm confident that long-term it will be possible to restore somebody's full body motion.
Another question from Twitter, will you be able to save and replay memories in the future?
Yes, I think in the future you'll be able to save and replay memories. I mean, this is obviously sounding increasingly like a Black Mirror episode, but well, I guess they're pretty good at predicting. But yeah, essentially, if you have a whole brain interface, everything that's encoded in memory, you could upload. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories. And ultimately, you could potentially download them into a new body or into a robot body. The future is going to be weird.
Awesome. This next question is from This Is Rex. They're wondering, can this device be used to explain consciousness? In the long term, of course.
I can certainly shed some light on consciousness.
This is a really interesting question. I think the answer is yes. And I think one of the reasons that consciousness is so hard is because, like anything in physics, you're looking at a mapping from X to Y, where X is the neuronal correlate, it's the thing that's happening then physically, and then Y is this phenomenal state. And historically, we've been unable to observe the neuronal correlates very well, and unless it's in you, we've been unable to observe the phenomenal state. So as soon as neuroscientists are able to personally get these tools where they can see the correlates and they can have the experience, I think the hard problem will vanish very quickly.
Closing question, I thought we might go down the line, starting with Dan. And what I'm wondering is, what is the number one thing on your wish list that you're really hoping that the Neuralink device will do over time that you're working towards?
So my background is in visual neuroscience, and one of the things I think has great potential for the Neuralink is to provide a visual prosthesis for people who have retinal injury or blindness through eye injury. You can essentially plug a camera directly into the visual cortex and stimulate with an enormous array of thousands or maybe tens of thousands of electrodes to recreate a visual image. And in time, perhaps you can use that same technology in people who haven't lost vision to produce some kind of heads-up display, something like Terminator or something like that.
Wonderful.
In fact, it's worth saying that, like, over time, we could actually give somebody supervision. Like, you could have, like, ultraviolet or infrared, or see in radar. You could basically name your frequency. You can just dynamically adjust the sensor or have sensors that feed into the visual cortex across a wide range of frequencies and actually have superhuman vision.
Yeah, so for me, telepathy. So I think it's incredible amount of effort to put your thoughts into a set of words, and it comes out completely compressed. So being able to do that seamlessly without being able to compress it with all of the mechanisms would be great.
Yeah, it's like just I'm sorry, to add further to that. In fact, when I did the Wait But Why article, I think Tim thought I said consensual telepathy, but I said conceptual telepathy. I would presume it would be consensual, because you definitely don't want just people, sending stuff into your brain without your consent. But a lot of our brain thought capacity goes into compressing our thoughts into words. And then you think of like the data rate of words. Words are a very low data rate. And we're putting a tremendous amount of mental energy into compressing the concepts and thoughts in our head into words, and then slowly talking. Speech is so very, very slow. And we could actually send the true thoughts. We can basically have far better communication because we can convey the actual concepts, the actual thoughts, uncompressed to somebody else.
So non-linguistic, consensual, and conceptual
Yes,
telepathy.
exactly. Non-linguistic, consensual, conceptual telepathy.
There we go.
So to sort of follow up on Elon's thought, I feel, and I imagine a lot of other people feel the same way, that there's a lot of sort of trapped creativity in your mind. You can, for example, close your eyes and conjure up like an incredible, like Dali-esque scene. But if I wanted to actually show someone that, it would take years of honing a craft to be able to paint that. And so potentially with enough electrodes in the right places, you could begin to sort of tap into those raw concepts or thought vectors and be able to decode that and show people. It could be for art, you imagine music, or even for like engineering, like a three-dimensional model. And like.
So mental artistry is a new field.
I think, I'm really interested about solving things related to anxiety or depression, or even like removing fear. Like I'm an athlete, and to like rock climb without fear would be pretty.
Maybe you need a little bit of fear.
Yeah, just a little. And also, it'd be great if we could make the pigs fly, but.
I think we have an incredible opportunity to limit human suffering to a tiny fraction of what it is today in all kinds of different avenues. Pain being the essence of suffering, we might be able to control that finally. And so many other diseases, so much other suffering in the world, I think the Neuralink device could help a lot with.
Amazing.
I think all these things are great functions for a Neuralink. I think on a species level basis, I think it's going to be important for us to figure out how we coexist with advanced artificial intelligence, and I think achieving some kind of AI symbiosis where you have an AI extension of yourself, like a tertiary layer above the limbic system and cortex, and having that symbiosis be good, such that the future of the world is controlled by the combined will of the people of Earth. I think that's obviously going to be the future that we want, presumably, if it's the sum of our collective will, and so I think it's going to be important from an existential threat standpoint to achieve a good AI symbiosis, and that's what I think might be the most important thing that a device like this achieves.